Marco from the NCA, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining me on quick notice. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich. Always a pleasure.
All right, so let me start with what do we need to avoid? Like, is what's on fire? What's something that I have to dodge out of respect that you don't want published? Or is everything open for discussion?
The town is on fire, and I think that we are all somehow feeling it, right? No, I'm here, and I really want to talk about everything. I think it's necessary. The town deserves direct information, and we definitely need to separate facts from fiction. That's what's happening, and I think if we don't have the information, that we're just going to be again and again discussing based on fake information.
About every high season towards the end, about right now, there's tension. About when U.S. spring breaks in, the town's thick, the lineup's crowded, the roads are crowded. Just finding a parking space is very difficult. Nosara's expensive. There's so many rumors flying around about so many different subjects, which is where we're getting to right now. Where do you want to start in the vast array of issues that people are concerned with right now? Like, choose a subject and let's get going.
No, I think we can start talking about the refuge because it's a key component of our town, right? And since there is no park in Nosara, I mean like a public park, like in every other Costa Rican town, I think the beach is like our place, right? Where we meet each other and it's so important. We all love the beach. The waves, all of that. So let's start with the refuge. What is happening now is that after the SINAC invitation to create the Covirena program, to reactivate the Covirena program in support of the park rangers, some people, especially the people around the WhatsApp group of trying to protect the dogs and advocate for the dogs inside the national refuge. I think, and I have several friends there. I mean, I totally get what they're saying, but we definitely see a lot of pressure from that group towards creating a path so that the dogs can stay on the beach. The truth is that this is national law, and NCA is not making that law. This is the law that applies to all the national protected areas in Costa Rica. So what I think is that after this first effort from the Covirena inspectors, this is now the 4th month of the program. We are seeing a lot of pressure and a lot of turbulence, mixing too many topics that are completely separated. And I think it's very simple. The refuge is a national refuge protected by the Costa Rican law since the 80s. And it is a refuge because several neighbors, but especially NCA back in the day, even donated land so that this refuge was created in Villegas and Pelada. So NCA has always been supporting the conservation of this piece of land and keeping it open and free for everyone. That's a fact. That's a fact. Now, speaking about what's going to happen, speaking about the future, what we are seeing is that protecting the refuge is protecting the Nosara's shield to not become another Jaco or another Tamarindo. What I'm trying to say is that if we protect the refuge, we're going to protect Nosara to not become just another coastal community. And where is this coming from? This is the Costa Rican law. That's it.
So you're saying you guys, well, what's the answer to this? Why now on the dog thing?
Don't you think that we are so much right now in this town? Nosara is one of the communities in Guanacaste that has almost tripled the population. There's a sense, part of the pressure is based on that idea. The constructions, more tourists, more people living in our town. If we don't do this right now, just imagine how this would be in 10 years. Nobody could be at the beach. And this is not only about dogs. I'm not talking about dogs, but I'm talking about the whole refuge regulations. I'm talking about the motorcycles, the bonfires. It would be a mess. So I'm very happy to see that SINAC is now, after so many years, is now enforcing these regulations, because it shows that they care for the refuge. They just have 4 park rangers to protect from Ostional Beach to South Yones. Just four park rangers.
Well, that's what
And
people bring up is why aren't they enforcing this at Oceanal, the river mouth? That's something that people frequently bring up. Another is, well, how about just let them take South Guiones area, let them bring dogs down there. Another wilder rumor is this is business interest control by one lady who doesn't care about things, and then they name names. Just go down the list. So what you're basically you're eradicating all the gossip by saying, look, this is just a law, we're enforcing it. And if they had started this 20 years ago, you would have supported it then too.
of course, definitely. And do you remember that the signs are over the beach entrances since 6 years ago? With all these regulations, no horses, no dogs, no motorcycles, no bonfires. So it doesn't make any sense that all of a sudden a lady or whoever just created this law. Of
Right.
course not. Of course not. We are so proud of what we're doing here. We are so proud of joining forces with SINAC. This was after their invitation to join the Covirena in Nosara. There are 50 Covirena committees all over the country. And what we are doing here, together with bomberos and other volunteers from town, right now there are 12 volunteers, 12 Covirena volunteers. And let me tell you, I think that we're gonna have the biggest Covirena program in Costa Rica, because right now there are like 10 or 15 more people that want to join and step in for the conservation, not only inside the refuge, but also to protect other areas in Nosara. We all know that the river dike, the illegal dumping, all of that is happening at the same time. We are very aware. And if there's more participation from the town, I think that we can protect Nosara and keep it aside from this pressure that is the overdevelopment.
The dumps, the trees, the refuge, everything that people are trying to use as evidence against you. You're saying you are addressing that, you do care about that, because some of the gossip around town is no, they're just working for the business folks, or that's kind of agenda driven organization. You're missing focus by dogs on not the key issues. And Ticos are saying that from outer areas in particular, not as many Ticos from here per se, but that is one thing that's brought up. It's like, oh, that's that. So I'm trying to give you a platform to address it right now.
The NCA mission is to promote conservation in this growing community. That's it. That's our purpose. That's what we're doing. But we don't start this year. This is the 50th anniversary of the NCA in this town. We are protecting 250 hectares for the last 5 decades. We have 9 kilometers of trails open for the community. We have a huge problem to solve, that is the closure of the old Nosara dump. It costs more than $1 million right now to solve that issue and avoid the pollution of the aquifer. And what we did, and this is new, we are better equipped now. That is the truth. We're better equipped now. We got more donations. We have now 3 grants activated towards the conservation in Nosara, and we have 2 main pillars. We are creating a land trust that is basically how to support the Ostional Refuge, keep the protection under the 250 hectares, but also partnering with private neighbors, landowners, to keep part of their land as part of this big conservation area. That is called the conservation easements. That's the conservation side. On the other side is the creation of an impact fund. It means the municipality can allocate more and more money to solve community issues, while private neighbors and donors and philanthropists can also allocate that same money. And let me give you an example here to better clarify. We are working so hard to get the Muni financially supporting the recycling center. that has been depending on donations since, since always, right? But it is a public service, and the community should take care of that. Well, it happens to be that they want to do it. It's just the bureaucracy is so strong that they need support. That's what we're doing. If we can apply that same principle to different problems in the community, then we're going to see a difference. So, what's the NCA agenda in Nosara? It's to promote conservation by activating this big land trust initiative and this community impact fund, and try to create a better town. But we cannot do it alone, and we have 250 members right now, but that's not enough. So my invitation here is, and I know this is hard. I know that the community growing and the overdevelopment requires some personal sacrifice, and dogs is one of those. I have a dog too. I love dogs, and well, right now I try to go somewhere else, right? We all do, but the overdevelopment and the growing requires personal sacrifices. We don't want to be the next Tulum in Costa Rica. And if we don't do anything, if we don't do something, we're gonna be the next Tulum that was from 6,000 population to 20 something, 30,000, and it just collapsed. It's a collapsed community. And we all love Nosara so much, and Costa Rica, that we don't want that to happen in this community. And I think we have better tools, and the Refuge is definitely one of those. It's the main shield to protect Nosara, but we have to do it together. This is not just an NCA fight, and I totally agree that NCA, as NCA, we have to be definitely more open and more transparent so that people can understand what's our agenda. And our agenda is what I'm telling you right now.
Let me try to say this back if I hear you right. To everyone who's saying you guys have an agenda, some sort of business angle or from commerce, you're saying that's absurd. Your entire existence is based on conservation of the area. There's no one person who's just anti-dog or pro something that has anything to do with this. You're saying that that's completely inaccurate. Your strong stance as an organization on this is based off the fact it's necessary because Nosara has exploded in growth, and the dog is just one component of a whole lot of other things. And then on top of that, everyone who's saying you guys should be focusing on other things, not this, you're saying that you're trying to help us do that with support so we actually can do more of that. This is where we're at right now.
100%.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we could use that as a clip that can fly around. At least people can hear your response to it, because it doesn't sound like, it sounds like you're in a tough, well, I know you're in a tough spot, but this is also how it goes in Nosara. When you took this job a couple of years back, I told you this stuff was going to happen. I told you it was going to happen.
I remember, you're right. Yeah.
It does. And also it happens about this time of year at the end of high season when it's high, it's crowded, money's tight, the market's much lower. We have a ton of restaurants. Many are not cash flowing. The real estate market is wildly low. It's tough, but people are still here. So Nosara has it busy, and the construction that's going on started a while back. It's still happening. So there's a timing and the seasons also that adjust. So February, March, April, things ignite. It gets real hot. So I did not suspect this. I just didn't see this coming this year until you and I spoke in October, and you told me the Covirena program was going, and you're not like, it's for real. When you told me that, also, I told you that was going to be a big deal too. So here's a question and a thought and a rich ramble. How do we get conversations to advance to the appropriate direction? Like earlier when we were talking, I was explaining to you, I think that the biggest issue that this town has is information doesn't flow appropriately. So that's one of the reasons for this podcast. We don't have many sources for information, but the person who's walking around who's inflamed about much of the like dogs thing, they don't know everything that you just said in great detail. And as soon as you go, you try to explain it all, and it takes a couple minutes to be like, well, this, they're already phased out. People like to scroll. They want to, if they're mad, they want to find something to justify their opinion. People threat, they get angry, and they look for things to justify their emotions. And I don't see a solution in sight outside of open communication. So that's my rich rant on that. I'm open to hear your thoughts or ideas.
Well, I always, uh, I think I'm an optimistic person, always trying to see like the positive side of things going on. And overall, I think this dog issue, or let's say the refuge regulations, um, I think it has generated a big discussion that, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, but when I arrived here, this was not like a big discussion about the refuge back then, like 2 3 years ago. It was before, because of the building regulations.
Horses. Our fight was horses. Like pre your time in early days, we'd fight over horses, because the horse crap would get where someone's doing something, and it was obvious. So
but
horses
it seems
was
like, as you're saying, like people coming and going, and like new people in town, and so it's like we just forget about what it means to live right next to a national wildlife refuge. And this topic has helped us, all of us. It's a reminder of that, and what it means, and what sacrifices we should do versus the gains that the businesses, the hotels, that everybody is having.
Are you guys playing the good by saying, hey, it's the rules, nothing we can do about it, to bring in this entire new overlap of our existence, and you're fooling the people by being the good guy?
We are a conservationist association, a non-profit organization that has gringo members and tico members, and it has been like that for the last 40 years maybe or more. We don't have a commercial agenda.
Like, what would you say about the recent meetings where people are saying, hey, we have to protect ourselves before it's too late, when your whole point is like, we're trying to protect you? You see what I'm saying? Like, can you address that, please?
Yeah. The idea, the whole idea about NCA trying to take over the town or take over the refuge, it doesn't make any sense, just because creating a national park is one of those fake informations. Creating a national park, on what purpose? Like to have stronger regulations? But we already have the same regulations that apply on a national park. You know that? Same regulation. So what's the point? We're not going to have more budget from SINAC. They are barely covering their operation. Charging a fee to enter the national park, that could happen right now if SINAC wants to do it, but they're not going to do it. We have 16 kilometers of beachfront. So who's gonna collect the fees? Where's going to be the entrance? It just doesn't make any sense. And the other thing is that if someday SINAC decides to start charging a fee to enter the refuge, all the Nosara residents can enter for free, because that's the refuge regulation right now. So what's the whole point of this national park thing? I don't see. Like, just to me, it's just that conspiracy theory about someone trying to do something. And I know this is not happening only in Nosara. This is happening all over the world. When things are too complex, people, and this is natural, we try to find the simple solution, the simple answer. Oh, this is happening because this is the bad guy trying to do it. They're trying to do it, and that's the simple answer, right? But the reality is much more complex than that, and but it takes time. It requires an effort to understand and get information from real sources. So that's my invitation here to everyone.
The people who aren't willing to come on a public platform like this and discuss things, I'm starting to lose respect for them. There's a good bit of that around here, and I'm tired of living in fear of them. I think I'm just going to start calling it out at some point in time here. And I'm calling you out with the tip of the hat and an appreciation for coming on here and doing this, man. Like, that's what we need. We need that. If we need the information to flow and to address it, you don't have to agree, but find out why you're fighting.
I'm more than happy to come whenever you think it's necessary. Also, something extra that is really important, which there's people in Pelada that once living right next to the beach. Some of them are getting eviction orders from the court, meaning they will have to leave. Um, and this is also essential, like to understand. It's complex. They got a denuncia from Minac, sorry, from Minai, from 2017. Then it went to court, and there's a lot going on, right? I know that the NCA was also as part of this big uh, thing of taking over the refuge. We were pointed as the organization behind the eviction orders. That's just false. That's not true. And the opposite, quite the opposite. We are working with SINAC and the Pelada neighbors to create a legal framework that can allow these people, the ones that are in good standing, that were there even before the refuge, like back in the 70s, so that they can stay there. And this is really, really important, because we are right now the only organization, NCA and the Pelada Neighbors Association, we are the only two organizations in this town trying to solve that issue by working on a new legal framework. And it takes time, and it takes money, and it takes, yeah, a lot of hours just to understand what's going on and how to deal with that. So my invitation here again is that people can get proper information and support this cause and support the Pelada neighbors that are there in good standing.
Where would you direct people to learn more or get more? Is that still can talk with you directly, or is there a spot where you suggest people go for that information, or a person or entity?
My phone number right now is like all over the town, and I'm still getting messages from people that I just don't know, and I try to answer. So there's that, but definitely my email is marco@nca.cr, or the NCA's info@nca.cr, for direct questions about what we're doing or what's going to happen on a certain topic. If we have the information, we're more than happy to share that with the community. And yes, definitely social media is a channel that we are reactivating a lot, as you said, because we think it's essential to share not only accurate information, but also something that could be very simple and easy to share. Not we were used to write those big newsletters, like great articles with all the information and everything.
Yeah.
Just right now, not a lot of people reads or take the time to read the whole thing, right? But maybe a short, like a reel, and that's what we're doing.
Long form conversations like this, it's harder for people to pay attention to. Let's go building permits and all that type of stuff. Anything you want to touch? What's the latest that you could cover on that? And is there any also insight on water? We have a water moratorium that's been going a long time. Whatever, let's use the platform while you have it. Well, let's hit anything else and everything else.
Yes. Well, something else that I want to share is the NCA general meeting that was back in February approved the creation of a community park.
Okay.
Yes, and this is super important. A community park right next to the NCA building, the ASADA building as well. It's a 6-hectare property, and it's gonna have it will has trails and like a rancho. We're still on the design phase. There's an amazing group working towards this, but I think it's gonna be a great project that will create more public infrastructure so that the people can get together and even like bridging the community, because it's like in the middle of Iones and Nosara town. So our dream is that the local families can also come to this park. So this is not going to be like a gringo park. You know what I mean? This is more like an open park for all
a lot of the pathways that people still use cut back around those edges like that. That's really good. And also Nosara Springs in that whole area, that's good for them. It's good for commerce. It's good for everything. And we need to unite. Heavens knows we need to unite the cultures as far as a landing spot. That's why back in the banana, I couldn't raise the money for it. I was trying to get a community center there. I'm trying to find a way so that Delicious Esperanza, Nosara Town, Oceano, Santa Marta all can get to a spot and interact. And that's where the skate park has been such a beautiful example. We need more of that and more of that. And I hope that doesn't slow down. So that's really cool to hear. Like, that's nice. Well, hey, man, that's
Yes,
good news. That's positive.
I think it's great, and it's going to be connected with the river dike, so you can come walking from
Nice.
Santa
So a safe
Marta.
spot to walk. I mean, we need not to change subjects, but also to change subjects. I mean, sidewalks, anything we can do to get safe passageways. We freaking need it, man. People drive like maniacs around here. We have accidents all the time. Every time you look in your rearview mirror, there's somebody on a bike or something like
Yeah,
a meter
yeah,
behind you. Like it's having pavement's good and it's bad.
always, always. Yeah, so if we can connect the river dike from the Rasta Bridge, the Santa Marta Bridge, to this new community park where the NCA is, and then build a sidewalk from there to the five corner entrance in Pelada that
That's
can
huge.
connect to the NCA trails, then we're gonna have all over, like from the Rasta Bridge to Polytree, even to 506 connected for pedestrians
Yeah,
and bikes.
Bodie and Bosque putting out the sidewalk is beautiful, man. Like
It's
that's
beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So
mm,
that connection, it would be a great flow of people and yeah, people walking with their dog and yeah, we need that the infrastructure can help us connect the town. Because
and
right
help
now
us
we
not
are
become Tulum somehow.
exactly.
I'm bringing a
Please
full
stop.
circle from where it started. No, sorry, we don't want to be Tulum. That should be something like some sort of mantra or shirt or something
We
that
don't
should
want to
tell.
be we don't want to be the next Tulum.
Yeah, man. Some it's so hard not to think that it's gone whenever like you get backed up. And I know how people feel that way because I feel that way right now. Like it's so much harder to make it here and do things right than people have any idea. And there is so much to it. And it's worth it. The waves keep coming. It's beautiful. It's amazing. The problems of here for me, I'd rather deal with them than the problems of where I'm from. The heavens knows it's not easy. It's not the cakewalk. So thanks for steering into this stuff. Were there any other subjects you want to hit while you have the platform?
Uh, there's something else, also a new project, and we are going to be sharing more and more information all over the year. But I think it's important to mention it right now because it shows how different Nosara could be than other communities that are right now dealing with this overdevelopment. You know that the Caribbean coast is dealing with a lot of attacks to the wetland areas right now in the country. The wetlands are these filters for the water that help us have clean water on the ocean, but also protect the waves. In Osada, we have 8 of those. We have 8 wetlands, and we mapped all those 8 wetlands last year, at the end of last year, together with SINAC again. And like at the end of the Pelada Creek, North Guiones, there's one, for example. The Golfo at the end of Pelada, North Pelada, that's another one. Like there are 8 of those.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna start signing all those areas with SINAC so that everybody can see where they are and what it means for the town to have those 8 special places that are so full of biodiversity, but also that help us protect the waves. Because this is now the new concept that we're also working with other organizations like Conservation International on how to protect the wave. Turtles are a key component of the refuge, of course, that's why we have a refuge, but also how can we think from now on how to protect the waves in those and there's a lot of technicality behind it. I don't want to get into that, but those areas, the wetland areas, are helping the community like Jonas and Pelada um, be a way of the overflowing, but also protecting the waves for everybody. And I think it's going to be great. I think it's an amazing project that we can show to the community, to the whole country, to the world. that while there are other communities like, let's say, Tulum, that are dealing with that overdevelopment, we can at the same time show how we are protecting those environmental assets that we have.
I think maybe your very first episode, my question, I think one of my first questions for you was, is Nosara at the spot where it's a model for the world to like follow, or is it gonna slip into a spot of like another one bites the dust?
Yeah, no, I think that we are right at the tipping point. Like, this is it. It's now or we just become another coastal community, and then a lot of people will start. They will leave. They can be somewhere else, right? But the local families can't. This is their town, so it's our obligation to make it happen.
Can I add to that point? I obviously agree. I want to add to it a little bit though. Nosara's gotten expensive, and I've complained about that a lot and frequently. I know there is some good that comes from that. The people coming in now have money. When I got here, it was always the same people donating over and over again. We did the same thing, and then we went from a couple NGOs now to 50 plus, and now we're all competing with one another to get money from a lot of the same sources. First freaking time we actually have people we can tap into. Let's not discourage them from getting involved in dialogue by screaming and yelling. Like, let's have a normal conversation or give a platform like this one to have that moment. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say I complain a lot, but I also see a ray of sunshine. Like maybe this tipping point, it's not gone. And a lot of the typing that you see is like, it's gone. That place is gone. It's gone. Well, that kind of hurts me. I know I complain about it, but it's also like, you still have to fight. You still have to try. You got to give it a freaking chance and stop yelling asinine elementary statements. People griping about a general thing and then everyone throws something at it that's not solution oriented. Like, I'm trying to find solutions, and unless you can start the conversation up here, not just the base, hey, it's crowded. Like, sometimes people stop me, they're like, oh, hey, you work in real estate, septic's an issue, right? It's like, no shit. I've got like literally, we have a no shit, no sorry thing that's out there. I have like 10 podcasts on the subject and I talk to everyone all the time. Obviously, I know. We don't need any more basic points made towards your organization or me or anyone else for that matter. Let's just fast forward the argument at least a little bit to a point of, okay, so what do we actually do about it? What's a real option? Let's just not complain. That's my last rich rant for today, I believe.
Totally. And here we have a big opportunity. Could you imagine if we can match the private funding from donations and philanthropy with public funding to make a sustainable tool that can point to specific problems in this town?
It's hard to imagine because we've had to do it ourselves. Everything we've done has been us for the most part.
We have been doing this forever, Nosara, from the private part, right?
Right.
But that's not sustainable anymore because we are not a government, and we need a government. And we have one, which is the municipality. The thing is that the municipality is also far away, right? I mean, the effort here is go to Nicoya and bring the muni to Nosara. And that's what we're doing, because it's the only way to move forward. It's seeing Nosara as a public-private community where you can match the private effort, the public effort towards specific solutions. And I know this is the hard way. I mean, but it's the only way right now, because we have been trying for the last 40 to 50 years, just solving the issues on our own.
Well, that's why I was pro census so much. Anything that gave any indication of getting the funding back seems like it made sense to me. So, and I know there was plenty of controversy around that. I've got a lot of unreleased podcasts on that subject too. I'm trying to avoid the gossip machine, kind of, but also anything that helps achieve what you just said would be great. So I'm trying to imagine it. So how do we make that come to fruition outside of breaking away? The group that you have that connects us to Nicoya that you speak of, talk about that for a minute.
You mean the district council?
Yeah, the district council. I was calling it tribal council. The
Yeah, no. So
district council.
there's this group of local leaders that were elected last year to represent Nosara, and they are, I would say, a new generation of leaders in town that are very aware that if we don't connect with Nicoya strategically, we're not going to get any real solution. And that's what they're doing, and that's what we're supporting since day one last year. And so there's this whole agenda about how to bring Nicoya to Nosara. And I know, some people don't want that to happen because some people are used to live here based on the idea that this is the free community with no law, no government. I know it's hard. It's another personal sacrifice if we want to thrive as a community. That's the way I see it.
So the theme, like we can apply that back to the no dogs thing. You're saying like for you that personally bothers you because you really like bringing your dog to the beach, but now you don't because Nosara hit a spot where it has to adjust to maintain survival. The reality is that applies in all sectors, almost for almost every business here, and it's not just one subject. It's kind of happened on it's a growing pain.
It's the growing pain.
And
Exactly.
they hurt.
It's the growing pain. Yeah.
Man, dogs are sensitive subject. They're so loyal and so much fun. And I love some of those dogs out there. They're like family. So growing pains sometimes hurt. And humility is a bitter pill to swallow too. I think that's why a lot of people don't want to have conversations like this or even watch them because it's easier just to stay mad. It's easier just to hunker in my emotions, find other people who operate from there. I'm tired of that though, man. I've been living here too long. I'm tired of living in fear of all that. Let's just steer into it. And you and I, we frequently disagree, so I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression. I think there's a respect though for having moments like this. So again, thank you.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
Hey, do you have any other jokes or any moments of levity for us to end the podcast on?
Any other jokes?
Jokes or good stories or something that you can relay? That park, the over by Nosara Springs and by the office, that was my highlight of the podcast. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Anything that unites the cultures and lets kids hang out and adults talk and communication to flow and like an open, safe space and anything that gets people off this roads from having to walk or bike on the roads, man. That's we get too many accidents. So you know what I'm saying? Like that was a real bright spot in your recent information. Do you have any other big bright spots to indicate that in the sidewalk? I appreciate that. Everyone who's helped with that. Thank you.
Sidewalks are very, very important. And the community is working on a specific regulation to make it happen. It's sometimes it's hard to understand, and it's frustrating. Also for us that are working with the community, it's frustrating to see that in other Costa Rican towns, the municipalities, well, they have the regulation to do it, and they just do it.
They do it. We don't have a speed bump in front of Organico because we don't have a church or a soccer field or a school there. Well, that was never supposed to be there.
Exactly. And but I have learned that for Nicoya, it's even harder to deal with Nosara because it's like that far away town that used to be managed by gringos, and then gringos that don't want the community to be there, but also ticos struggling. It's not easy for Nicoya.
I've never thought about it that way. I've never one time thought about it that way. I've always been so mad about it all.
I know, yeah. Yeah, the whole thing about corruption and that, I mean, it happens in other municipalities, and like if there's a specific thing, people should go and make a denuncia against it. But I think it's not about that. It's more about the complexity of managing a town like ours if you are from Nicoya. Even people that work for the muni, some of them, like the other day, they came to do some project or whatever, and they were not aware of, oh, so this is Guiones here, and so what is this trail about? And they're not familiar with the community. So there's a lot of connection.
You're saying like bureaucracy essentially is the issue. It's not the days of yesterday with the standard corruption. Now it's just implementing the systems through the whole thing. It's complicated and it's a pain in the butt. It takes a long time.
It takes a long time. It will take time, but we are in a much better position now than we were before.
All right, so you're saying we don't have a regulatory plan yet?
Not yet. That's another good example. It's another good example. So now the strategy seems to be like, okay, we cannot have a whole regulatory plan for the whole canton, but what if we break it into pieces? And of course we're fighting so that Nosara can be number one or number two of that priority. It's essential right now. But things like that takes time, and not only in Nosara, all over Costa Rica, a plan regulador takes 10 to 12 years. It's a madness.
Well, hey, speaking of taking time, do you know any updates that you can share on the water moratorium? I know you're not the water board, but the ASADA folks won't come on the podcast. Can you speak on that subject, perhaps?
Definitely, the ASADA is the one in charge of this, and with all the information, I think that they're working hard to get extra wells and extra infrastructure to get out of the moratorium. But that's definitely a topic that the ASADA should address. Yeah.
Do you guys have a stance? Are you guys happy there's a moratorium? Because that's what people who are mad about it. It's like, yeah, they don't want anything. They already have everything. So why would they want to support any of this stuff? Or does the NCA have any position on it? You're just like, whatever it is whatever it is.
Yeah, this is totally up to the ASADA and the AIA, the National Water Agency. Our position is we have to have the proper system in place so that the overdevelopment doesn't run out of water and takes the water out of the town. There's a lot of things going on regarding the moratorium, but that's our position. I mean, we don't have a specific like pro or against the moratorium thing. That's the ASADA, and yeah.
Hey, sometimes there's rumors of treatment systems and that it's not that hard. We actually can pull it off. And then other people who are very highly educated tell me, Rich, there's no way. Like this isn't happening. Does the NCA have any stance on the idea of a treatment system for septic on a bigger, greater level?
We have been having conversations with the ASADA. There's a committee from the ASADA working towards the water treatment solution. As far as I know, right now it's a pilot project at a small scale. And yes, I agree. Having a broader solution that can take into consideration not only Guiones, but Nosara as a district is hard. And probably it will never happen if you don't work with the national government. That's what I think, because I don't know of a town in Costa Rica where something like this can be done 100% based on private funding and private solutions. Because the bureaucracy and the permits are so complex that you cannot. You need AIA and you need the national government also working here. There's no way. And so I know they're trying to.
Not impossible. But not as easy as some people might be indicating. That one's complicated to take a while.
It is. Definitely it is. It's just another problem that requires a public-private solution.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Nosara town, this on a different ASADA. And sometimes people get confused about how there's an ASADA for here, the ASADA for there. A lot of people from different countries aren't quite used to that. Nosara town, for very little money, I think it was 22,000 or something, was having a huge issue. Is there any way we can get that information to the gringo side of things? Do you have any ideas or suggestions for like that one? Like back in San Pedro area and whatnot. Like I remember talking with those folks. So what I'm trying to do is give you an opportunity to address the idea that NCA is not just Pelada and Guiones, what gringos say. You actually care about everyone. That's kind of what I'm trying to set up here. Do you have any thoughts or information or communication about that for people? Or is that just part of the many ongoing things of everything that you're involved in, and that's why you need support so that you can deal with it?
NCA's scope is the Nosara district. Of course, I would say that our roots are in Guiones and Pelada because the NCA parklands are there, right? But this initiative that I was sharing with you earlier, the land trust initiative, now takes into consideration that the conservation should happen not only in Guiones and Pelada, but also the whole Nosara district. and especially the higher areas of the town where we can have these conservation easements with property owners. So the whole thing is about biological corridors. If we can help the species to cross from the national parks that are at the most at the mountain areas behind Nosara through the Nosara River and help them get to the beach, and in terms of the connectivity, that's the magic. That's the magic. Like, did you see the picture with the puma the other day that we shared?
Yeah.
It was in one of the NCA parklands. Okay, this puma is coming from somewhere else, of course, and it's because there's still a biological connectivity. What I'm trying to say is that we're working towards conservation, and conservation cannot happen isolated, just seeing Guiones as like the center of the world. And our scope is very clear, is the Nosara district, on both the conservation aspect and the community aspect.
All right, so you're trying to be as much as you possibly can be with the resources that you have, is what I keep hearing. Is that a fair statement?
Exactly. So if you connect that with one of those original fake news about NCA getting 450,000 to do whatever, well, now you can compare the size of that budget, and that is for that's a 3-year budget, versus the big list of issues that we have as a community. Because one may see that amount as, oh God, so these guys from NCA are like, now they're swimming on money, right? And of course not, because the size of the challenges are quite big. And yes, we need stronger organizations.
Yeah. Oh, also, people should get educated on the fact you can't just redirect that. Your focus is on conservation and not these other things, and you're not saying those other things don't exist. You're saying that's not what you focus on. So when somebody in the lineup starts yelling out that they should redirect it to this and this, and my relatives from here, and then this, and it's like, hold on, it's igniting a lot of negative energy that's not pointing the right direction to solution-oriented thinking. That bothers me. I think we need to attack that with conversations like this and keep thundering that out there. Because it's not fair. Again, you and me disagree on stuff. We do. It's okay to disagree. You talk through it, you figure it out. That's how it goes. I don't think it's good to use social media or the Nosara gossip machine to fuel a fire that doesn't have a solution-oriented angle, or at least find out what you're fighting about. There's a lot of people in this town. I've always thought this one day, if I ever really, really got mad enough, there's so many people who are enemies who actually agree. And there's so many people who agree who are actually,
but they don't know. They don't know, right?
They don't know. That's like my big secret on this place. I mean, they're telling you, name. I could do it. It's so true. So I don't want people to start fighting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we can avoid a lot of our fights, or at least elevate them. Let's not fight at level 1, 2, 3. Let's fight at level 4, 5, 6. There you go. That's probably more realistic. Let's fight when it's time to fight, and let's fight about the right thing.
Our fight is for conservation, because our vision is an Nosara where nature is respected. That's our secret agenda. That's what we're doing.
All right, you've preached that gospel pretty strong here on this episode. Thanks for coming on and making time. I know it's busy. I just think the town needs it, and for those who have ears to hear, let them hear, and we'll put it out there.
Pura vida, Rich. Thank you.